with that in mind, our program today will be introduced by Utica Rotarian Brian Moore. Brian?
I probably haven't won the 50-50 raffle here at the club in the last 2 years. However, in the last 2 weeks, I gave my ticket to the Japanese student from Sequoia at last week's meeting, and I gave my guest this week the ticket, and they both won. So it's not a matter of buying tickets, it's who you give it to. Anyway, you can tell from the table that this week's program is all about youth exchange. And I have two wonderful, outstanding individuals to introduce today. And last week, they had a very short presentation. This week, they get the opportunity to give an in-depth presentation of their countries. But before I do that, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the long-term commitment that host families take in hosting these exchange students. And we're extremely fortunate today in that we have two host families in our presence. And I want to take the time now to introduce them and just recognize the appreciation that we have during the course of the year on their hosting of the exchange student family. So first off, at this family over here, if Jack and Sandy would just stand up for a second. Jack Maricky is a service supervisor with Niagara Mohawk, and Sandy is a teacher at New Hartford High School, and they've been the host parents for Agnes over the course of the last 6 months. So please welcome. And I don't think I'd be able to go home at night if I didn't introduce my wife. We were also the host family for Agnes for her first stay here for 3 months. So Nancy Miller, who works for Finally, Roger and Denise Bowers were the last family. They couldn't join us today, but believe me when I say that they hosted Michi for the last 7 months. And extremely wonderful family to be able to take him into their home as well. So I just wanted to recognize them. I will take back our appreciation to their family. Thank you. Finally, I have one last request before I get into the introduction, and we have an Austrian student, Florian, who's coming in August, and Shaki Eligari is his outbound or his inbound counselor this year. And we have a second host family already secured, but he's looking for a family from mid-August to November. So if anyone knows anyone that would be interested in that in the Whitesboro School District, please see him. Okay, our first speaker is Michi Wakamutsu. Michi is originally from Kanazawa, Japan. He has had an enjoyable year at New Hartford High School. In addition to the Bowers, Michi was also hosted by Paul and Linda Balzano, and for a short time by Tim and Jane Allen, and Mitzi and Carter Rule. Michi will complete high school in March of 2001 when he returns to Japan. He plans to study business administration and wants to work in international relations for a trading company. Michi loves traveling, golf, and watching movies. He has been to 8 foreign countries, loves meeting new people, and has a great sense of humor. He has traveled to Florida, Boston, Montreal, Washington, D.C., and New York City during his stay here. He will finish his year with a trip around the U.S. And one quick humor story I have about Michi. In the beginning of the year, we were going to the state fair, and there was a gentleman there that had symbols on his chest, and it was written in Japanese symbols. And Michi was absolutely cracking up at this guy. And he came over to me, I said, Michi, why are you laughing? He says, that man has written on his chest, I am an idiot. Why does he do that? Michi.
Thanks for introducing me. Konnichiwa. My name is Michi and I'm from Japan. First of all, as an introduction, I would like to talk about my impression of my stay and how I have changed since I came here. I'm really proud of my people and country, and while I'm here in a foreign country, I could guess that not only honorable but also shameful things about my nation. Just because I'm in a different country, I could get very informed about my people and become more knowledgeable of my country. I believe that in order to make Japanese inhabitants more educated, they should notice not only honorable but also shameful things. And I will focus on points. I will focus on points which should be improved and discuss how they should be in the 21st century as an introduction. Firstly, I seriously think that the Japanese people are not as open-minded people who can approve of different customs and conventions as those people who are raised in multinational surroundings. Since we have been in racially and culturally pure nation since the beginning of our history. Without contacts with different people who have distinct cultures, it would be absolutely impossible to acquire comprehensive methods of thought. Moreover, these people are not aware. It is surely significant for themselves. Learning about other people is indispensable to becoming fully aware of themselves. Accepting novel ideas and concepts are essential to the stimulation of our minds as well as esteeming our own values. Since the United States is composed of immigrants from different parts of the world, people here have been forced to try to live with different people peacefully, and accordingly, people have begun to develop their people have begun to develop their international minds and racism. Japanese citizens are devoid of the former. I think it is socially true. Our people maintain the highest education average in the world, but it does not become proportional to their sociability, which enables them to accept different people's existence, I think. Taking instances from my experiences in Japan, at least the majority of students in my high school were pretty indifferent to things outside their world. I remember some students who had opinions like mine were regarded as if they were sort of heretics. Since the majority unfortunately did not obtain any opportunities to make contact with the different customs, they could hardly observe new types of thoughts and knowledge from people who have created different civilizations. That is the main primary reason a lot of Japanese are not so curious about outside their world, I think. For this reason, in a sense, the Japanese inhabitants might be deemed as ignorant people apart from their educational average. To get to know people from strange localities can extend your circle of associates. The more you associate with new people who live outside your location, the more you can open your mind to more extensive interests, and accordingly, you become open-minded. I realize this while I'm here. However, knowing different people, it is unavoidable to learn to practice the world common language, I mean English. And you should be fluent without the necessity of interpreters. Communicating with people through dependence on interpreters is not enjoyable or friendly. That is one of my major motivations. I spend so much time to the study of English. I insisted that our society should gather talented people who are well informed of different customs and people. Also, you need to provide more opportunities to be familiar with distinct customs. and people in the 21st century. I will return home soon. I am proud of myself, and I have grown up considerably compared to my past self. Now I have to thank everybody who has supported me mentally and given me an opportunity to be more experienced person. Incidentally, today I am here to discuss a little bit of our cultures in Japan. And talking of Japan, I think firstly, you imagine newest technologies or highest educational averages and famous traditions such as like Darwin or geisha or something like that. I would like to introduce about my hometown and a few things. My hometown Kanazawa has one of the longest history in Japan for about 1,500 years. Because Kanazawa was not so damaged by the American Air Force during the World War II. Accordingly, the old residents could keep most historic spots for the future generations. My city has a population of more than 450,000 and is located in the central part of Honshu Island, Japan. Kanazawa has prospered from producing their famous traditional industries since the beginning of their history. That's how okay. The next note. I'd like to talk about different customs in terms of transportation. Public transportation is absolutely indispensable for the Japanese inhabitants. Japan is internationally well known for possessing high level of public transportation, particularly the technology of the railroads and airplanes are highly advanced. From major cities to even the countryside, railroads and airports are very widespread. Accordingly, the demands and the numbers of automobiles are just 1/5 of the United States. However, in my country, overpopulation in huge cities is an extremely grave problem, and also it is in proportion to this that in huge cities, there always exists heavy traffic, and therefore it is more convenient to commute to their businesses or schools by trains or subways than traveling by automobile. That's our system. And also, due to the donut-shaped urban sprawl and an emptying phenomenon was the heart of huge cities, more and more residents commute from the suburbs to the center of huge cities. Therefore, the importance of public transportation is growing more. But here in the US, the inhabitants depend on their cars at the meaning of transportation, except for highly populated cities. I think it is a typical cultural difference. The next, I'd like to talk about the Japanese education. Japan is internationally famous for producing high achievers. The average high school graduate in Japan has acquired much basic knowledge in all fields, especially math and science. The average university graduate in the United States, it is said. A major reason is that school occupies a much larger place in Japanese teenagers' lives. They spend far more hours in education-related activities in school and at home. They have much less time to expend their free time compared with United States students. Taking an example from my high school, our school starts at about 7:50, and the lectures finishes at past 4 o'clock. However, usually after this, you are supposed to attend review class for exams or club activities. So actually, I could go home after 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock. I therefore could spend much time to be devoted to things I wanted to do here in New Hartford High School. And 2 days ago, my school was done. I never imagined I would come to an age in New Hartford High School, a lot better than my high school. because it's fun. So, and I still keep in mind, I was even afraid to go to school at the beginning since everything was so different from my high school. I want to stay with my friends as many days as I can. That's my desire now. Now, thank you very much for providing an opportunity to experience such a memorable year. Thank you.
Our second speaker is Agnes Propovich, and the Utica Club has hosted Agnes for almost a year now, and I hope everyone has had an opportunity to get to know this outstanding representative of her country. Agnes is originally from Olsztyn in Poland. Currently, Agnes is a senior at New Hartford High School and is slated to graduate next weekend with a diploma. Quite an accomplishment, and she's worked extremely hard to meet the New York State requirements for graduation. Right now, she's in the middle of her Regents exams and is quite busy, to put it mildly, with the proms and exams and everything else going on. She's been involved during the past year at New Hartford High School in the Model UN program, tried out for the volleyball team and played with them, practiced with them. She played in 2 school plays, and she's been involved in numerous other activities. Agnes is a very open and friendly person. She loves the summer, so swimming, canoeing, boating, biking, and volleyball are some of her favorite activities. We've had plenty of opportunities for her to do that this summer, huh?
Voting.
Yeah. Anyway, she's traveled to Florida, Boston, Montreal, and New York City. She will finish her year with a trip around the USA as well, and then will enroll in the university back home. The one quick story I had about Agnes is that during the early part of the year, she was in the first high school play at New Hartford. And she was telling us, well, look for me and I'll be in the play. I'm real excited about it. So the play goes on. It gets to be about an hour and a half into the play, and I turned to my wife and I said, I haven't seen Agnes yet, but I'm sure she's going to show up soon. She got on and she came on. Her one word was, here. And that was it. Agnes.
I come from Poland, and the town is Olsztyn. It's about 200,000 people, and so it's about the size of Syracuse. If we look at the size is about an average in Poland, and I brought a map with me. I live up north. Okay, here is Poland. Thank you. Here is Poland, and here is Germany, and then France, and then Belarus. So my town is right here, so it's up north. It's a region of 1,000 lakes, and leisure activities like boating and swimming, biking, hiking are very popular, and that's what we usually do both in summer and winter, well, except for swimming. It has a lot of historical sites. After the period of feudalism, it expanded very, very widely, and by now it's a really beautiful town. It has an old part, which is called the Old Town. And there's a castle, high gates, and many statues. It's been renewed and restored, and and since the Cold War, after 1945, it doesn't really look that old. So I don't know. The castle makes it old, but it's actually pretty modern. Olsztyn is well known for agricultural production, especially corn and wheat. I actually had to look into the internet to remind myself about Poland and the government system, because after studying U.S. history and government for the whole year. All right. So the size of Poland is about 40 million people. It's exactly 38.6 million people. We have bicameral parliament. It consists of Sejm and Senate. We have four political groups. The Polish Constitution was signed in 1971. So this year was the 209th anniversary, and it's a really big event in Poland, and it's always, people usually talk about it. Our president is Aleksander Kwaśniewski, and we have a prime minister and ministers, and then local self-governments. My school in Olsztyn starts at 8 o'clock in the morning, and we usually have to stay there till about 4 in the afternoon. And then we can play volleyball and basketball. Those are the most, volleyball, basketball, and soccer are the most popular sports in Poland. So if we want to play, we can often stay after the school. But we usually don't, because we don't really have that much time to do sports. We have to study a lot, and I noticed that American teenagers don't really see how they don't really have to do anything. They just they have homework, but they don't really have to study, and then they complain all the time, which I couldn't understand at first. But now I kind of get used to American school, so it will take a while to adjust when I go back. I have one brother. He's 11 years old. His birthday was past month, and I live with my dad and my mom. My mom is a teacher in primary school, and my dad is a building engineer. But since he doesn't really like working for somebody else, he got his own grocery store in the warehouse, and he distributes candy and Polish candy and sweets. My family loves traveling, and we usually we don't really cross the border, which is really weird. I don't know why, but don't ask. My parents love Poland, so we travel a lot every summer. I have family all over the Poland too, so we have places to stay. We don't have to pay for hotels. And actually, I think I miss them a lot now. I think I had my time in US. I really enjoyed it a lot. It was an amazing year. I had the best time of my life, and I really like to thank everybody. I had a great time, and I can't believe it's almost over. I hope next exchange students will have a great time with you guys. So thank you very much.
Any folks have any questions? Yes.
Were your notes written in your native language or in English?
English.
Another question, Rick?
Michi, were your notes in English?
English.
Michi?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear. I'm sorry.
Yes. Two things. One,
Can you speak
women
up?
in
Because I
this
can-
country, girls apparently don't take well to math and science, and it's cultural and it's very unfortunate. Do girls in Japan take well to math and science? Are they on an equal basis with men?
In my contract,
Use the mic.
in my country, actually, it is also true that men are kind of superior in the society. Men can get occupations more easily than ladies do. It is also true. So actually, boy students take education more serious. Are up to take education more seriously. But these days, the society has changed that we should be socially equal, because we are equal. It doesn't make any sense to discriminate ladies. That's what I believe. And but actually I personally like to study mathematics, so I want to major in this in my university, but I don't know. Yeah, I think that's true. What you said is true. Boys take mathematics and science more seriously than girls do. Is that what you said to me?
Yeah, and my second question was, having spent some time here and learning about our culture, are you going to go wearing a T-shirt that has Japanese symbols?
I actually, I love to make fun of these people who wear Japanese T-shirts because they are very funny. They don't, they like how they do, but they don't know the definitions. So whenever I see them, I often laugh at them. That's what I do. Thank you.
One more question?
Well, for Michi,
Yes.
Michi, what does the typical young Japanese young man or young woman of your age, or say your age and then the next 10 years up, what do they aspire to do?
You mean like
What are
occupational?
their hopes? What are their hopes,
Okay.
dreams? What do they want to do with their lives?
Okay, actually, they're still teenagers, so they want to do, what they want to do, but, they can't because, they're very busy studying. But, actually, we have an opposite system with the United States, it's very difficult to enter universities, but, it's kind of easier to graduate. So in universities, they can have fun, so they will have fun in universities, so they just cannot do this while they are teenagers. Do you understand what I mean?
When can they break loose and do what they want? What age?
At university.
Yeah, they can have fun in universities, I think.
Yeah, it's just the opposite.
Yeah, that's the opposite system. So, here, teenagers do not take education seriously as much as we do while they are in high schools or junior high schools, but they take education very seriously in universities. So it's just the opposite.
Thank you. One question, go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
I want to say something.
Oh, go ahead. Sure.
I'm the country contact for Japan on the
Absolutely.
district
Come on.
level. And I just wanted to say that I kind of tracked things long before Michi ever got here and have a close relationship with the Rotary Club in Kanazawa. And I want to just say one thing about, for the students, both the courage and the enthusiasm that Michi, and I know Agnes also, brings to this program is really extraordinary. For a kid to actually make a commitment and be sponsored by the Rotary and come here is an extraordinary accomplishment, and I just want to acknowledge these kids for that. And I also want to say that we're sending out a student that will be sponsored by our club and who will be placed in Kanazawa. And the Rotary Club in Kanazawa and Michi's parents are just wonderful people and really take a huge interest in the kids that we send there. So I just wanted to make that known to everybody, that we do have a personal connection with the Rotary clubs in the countries where we're sending kids, and it's just an incredible program. So
will our kids go to the Japanese high school? Because I imagine they can't speak Japanese.
oh, absolutely, yeah.
Right, they try to learn it right
They
there.
learn it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they learn. And after a year, they'll be, again, kids learn quick.
Actually, my son was sent by this club in 91, 92, and John Kogut was his country contact. And my son is now a graduate student in a university in Tokyo. So the difference that this program makes in terms of global relationships is really amazing. And I'm not sure, unless you're directly involved in the program, that you know how extraordinary it is. So that's why I wanted to say something.
Just
Go ahead.
to add one comment to that, in, the 6 outbound students that we have, we're planning to have a meeting here on July 21st, and they'll be here, and Andy and several other ones that are going to Japan will be here. So if you're in attendance at that meeting, you'll get to meet these individuals.
Agnes?
I was so nervous that I forgot about the book I brought. I wanted to show pictures. So I will just leave it and so that everybody can look at it.
Oh, great. Well, believe it or not, I might not buy these sleeves.
Actually, it's a present.
Oh, wonderful. Even better. Thank you very much. Thank you. Ron, we got any banners left?
I think so.
We're hunting for banners. This is great. This is Gonzalo. Michi's Club. And actually, while we're waiting, Agnes Jankuya. And for Agnes, something she'll cherish forever, as well as a Rotary roster and a Rotary banner.
Thank you.
Agnes. And Michi, arigato gozaimasu. And for you. We're running a few minutes late, but I just want to echo one thing that Michi said. The Japanese education system is almost a flip-flop of the U.S. education system. I spent enough time here. High school is unbelievably difficult. Unbelievable pressure on young men and women to get into the university. similar to a lot of folks in Asia, for example, they take a nationwide test. In many cases, they publish the names of the people in the newspapers with the scores. So there's a lot of family pressure on doing well. But once you hit the university, it's like, wow. It opens wide up and they have a great time. Very much the flip of the U.S. system. But there's a lot of pressure on folks like Agnes and Michi, and I echo. They have done a wonderful job, and we thank you so very much. Thank you. Safe travels if we don't get a chance to talk with you again. Enjoy the trip around the U.S. Have a wonderful time. See you at the changing of the guard, Habitat tomorrow, Larry's transition, get your Swadeens, and we'll see everybody. Have a great weekend. Thank you.